Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a most marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Well, as you know, there is a war going on in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine, also known as Gaza. And it's terrible, as war will always be. It is terrible. And there are those who are taking sides with this group or that group and calling it a genocide or calling it an act of terrorism, all sorts of things. But it is horrible. I think we can all agree that it is horrible. Now, the Queen of Jordan, which is a country that borders Israel, she has made a statement about the war. She is Palestinian herself. And so she's saying that there is a double standard in the West when it comes to the Palestinian people. Queen Rania of Jordan says there's double standard of world's reaction to Israel, Gaza. Queen Rania Al Abdullah, the Queen Consort of Jordan and wife of King Abdullah II, said on Tuesday that there is what she describes as a glaring double standard in the Western world's reaction to the Hamas massacre on October 7th and Operation Swords of Iron, claiming that much of the world's reaction is more sympathetic towards Israelis who were negatively impacted by the conflict than Palestinians. So she's saying that the Western world, and that would include Europe and the United States, is more sympathetic to the Israelis than they are to the Palestinians. Now, what set this off is on October 7th, the Palestinian group called Hamas staged an attack on Israel. They say the attack was by land, air, and sea, killing many people and capturing some. And in the aftermath of that attack, Israel staged what they called Swords of Iron, which was a retaliation to what Hamas had done to them on October the 7th. So we go back to the same thing. All of this is horrible. All of it is ugly. But she's saying that the world is taking sides and is more sympathetic to Israel. The Western world is what she said. Queen Rania, who is of Palestinian descent, made this statement during an interview with CNN's Christiane Amanpour, where she notes that the people of Jordan are feeling shock, grief, and pain in reaction to the images of civilians impacted in Gaza. Well, everybody is feeling shock and pain. People sympathize with those people in Gaza. I think you can feel bad for both groups. Because the whole thing is horrible. She goes on to say that in the last couple of weeks, we have been seeing a glaring double standard in the world. When October 7th happened, the world immediately and unequivocally stood by Israel and its right to defend itself and condemned the attack that happened. But what we're seeing in the last couple of weeks, we're seeing silence, referring to the Gazan civilians who have been severely impacted negatively by the war. Well, the leaders of the Western world might be silent, but the people of the Western world are not silent. There are demonstrations all over the United States and Europe protesting the war in Gaza. So she's wrong about that. But she wants the leaders to speak out. And Israel is an ally of the Western world. And so that's how come they're not speaking out against Israel. She claimed that countries worldwide have stopped expressing concern or acknowledging the casualties in Gaza and instead are only expressing support for Israel. Again, she's talking about the leaders of these countries, not the people. Are we being told that it is wrong to kill an entire family at gunpoint, but it's okay to shell them to death? This is the first time in modern history that there is such human suffering, and the world is not even calling for a ceasefire. She's wrong about that. There are people calling for a ceasefire. They're just not the people she wants. The Queen Consort continued by saying that the silence for Palestinian rights is deafening and that many believe that such silence makes the Western world complicit in the suffering of Gazan civilians. Amarpour then asked Rania what she felt on October 7th during the Hamas massacre, to which she stated that the attack shocked her and that the country of Jordan condemns the killing of any civilians, whether they are Palestinian or Israeli. She also noted that it is also Islam's position to condemn the killing of civilians, and then reiterated her belief that there is no equal condemnation of the Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. Okay, so the Queen of Jordan is Palestinian, as I said before, and she is seeing the balance of power in the world. She's seeing what happens when one group of people is more powerful than the other. What we have seen as Black Americans is that everybody is white but us. And then they get the wake-up call, and then they do what she's doing. Oh, it's not fair. It's a double standard. Well, yeah, it is a double standard. Always. Now, there are Black Palestinians called Afro-Palestinians living in Palestine or Gaza, same thing. Now is not the time, as people have said, to mention that Afro-Palestinians are discriminated by the Arabs. But this is not the time to talk about that. So back to the subject. Israel is an ally of the United States and most of the European countries. So they supply Israel with a lot of the supplies, including weapons, that they use in their wars. So she's expecting something from countries that they don't normally do. Now, as far as I'm concerned, neither side has clean hands and neither side is innocent. Also, as an African American, I understand what she's saying, that there is a double standard and there are people in the world who act like they don't care about the Palestinian people. Well, we could turn that thing around and we could say that the transatlantic slave trade happened and went on for 246 years, just straight out slavery. It went on for 246 years. It is called by some the worst affront to humanity that the world has known. Nobody felt bad about it. No, and the world kept silent. Matter of fact, the world participated in it. And let us remember that the Arabs, the Palestinians are Arabs. They are Arabs. Those people engaged in slavery in Africa for 1,300 years before any European set foot on the continent of Africa. Those Arabs were going into Africa. As a matter of fact, what the historians say is that if the transatlantic slave trade was bad, the sub-Saharan was 10 times worse. So everybody gets a turn at suffering. African Americans, Black Americans, ADOS, we have suffered, and we don't suffer the way our ancestors did. They had a real lesson in suffering. I truly feel bad for what's happening in the Middle East. But Dr. Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So that means that if you can see or participate in what's happening in Africa and go on about your business, not feeling anything for those people, when it comes back around on you, and it will, then you might get the same indifference or silence as she said. It is important that we respect each other's humanity, regardless to your race, creed, or color. Because anything, my husband has a saying. He says, anybody will do anything given a certain set of circumstances. So when you see people who will do anything and you can sit back and say nothing and do nothing, just know that that very same thing can come back around on you. So anyway, let's lift up the people of the Middle East, of Israel and Palestine, and hope that they can come to a peaceful resolution soon. Okay, y'all, thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.